Selvies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you are a return subscriber, welcome. It's nice to have you back. So today's tutorial, I'll be showing you all the tools that are required for you to start your sewing journey. Guys, the first thing you want to have is your tool bag. So a tool bag helps you to keep your tools handy. This is my tool bag. I made it from leftover fabrics. And so I put all the fabrics together and I used them to make a bag. So this is my bag and it has different sections, just the front and the middle part. So this is where I keep all my tools so I can have them handy. And then the next thing I have here is my ruler. I use this ruler to secure my paper and also to measure my paper. It has both the metric side and the centimeter side. I use the metric side. So the metric side is the inches side. So I use this to secure my paper and also to measure my paper. And right here, I do have my paper. It comes in a roll quite long. So I use my ruler to cut out the measurement. I do have my protractor right here. This is very useful because I use it to get I use my protractor to get the armhole measurement. Let's say I need to get the angles for my armhole. This is what I use and it comes in very handy. I do have my pins right here. The pins come in this little boxes here. However, this is what they look like. They're quite tiny. They do come in other colors too, but I do have the red and the gold ones. So they're quite tiny. I hope you can see them. And then they have like they have the head right there where you can hold and use it to secure your fabric. This is what they look like. I do have the bigger ones of the pin, especially if the fabric is quite thick. I use the bigger ones to like secure the fabric. I do have my hand needle right here that I use to like hand stitch when I want to stitch and keep things in place. This is very important for you to have as a beginner. And also I do have my eraser. This is the best thing to have to correct your mistakes. And then I do have my seam ripper. I use the seam ripper to rip. Seam rippers are very awesome. It helps you to like rip the seam off and also like especially when you make mistakes too. I think they should be categorized with the eraser. However, this is my seam ripper. I use this to rip seam when I make mistakes when I'm sewing. And then if you look at the seam ripper, it does have this sharp edge. This is where you use for ripping the seam, and this other side just kind of like protects you from. I have the smaller one and then I do have the bigger one. And then I have my weight. I use this weight to like secure my fabric on the table so my fabric doesn't move around. And also, I do have my measuring tape, which is very important for taking measurement. I use it to take measurements of my clients. I do use the inches side. It comes both in centimeters and then the inches side. I do use the inches side. And also I have right here my elastic. If you've seen one of my videos that I took the measurements of a model. This is very important. This was on the waist of my model. So whenever I'm taking my measurements, I put this on the waist of my client before I take measurements. So this is very important. I have this, it's very handy. I do have my erasable chalk. So instead of having a chalk, this is like my erasable chalk. This one, you don't need to sharpen it. You just pull the rope and then it's kind of like automatically you just rip the paper off. The good thing about this is as soon as you're done using it and you iron your dress, it just disappears. I do have here my paper scissors. This scissors I use only for my paper, for cutting paper. And then I do have here my fabric scissors. I do have two of this actually. I use the scissors to cut only fabrics. So that is what I use the scissors for, just for the fabric. And then I do able to transfer measurements from one paper, from the original paper to the other paper that I would use to modify the measurements. I do have right here my ruler. I used to use this old ruler in the past. However, I do prefer using this one because this one I can actually see through it and know where I'm putting my measurements. It's very also handy, very, very handy. I do have here my transparent tape. I use this to secure my pattern when I'm making my pattern. Also, I do have here my pencil. It's very good to have a pencil. It helps me make my pattern. It's very, very important to have one. And I also have here my cutter. So after stitching on my sewing machine, I use my cutter to cut off my thread. I do have right here my stapler. So this helps me to secure my paper. Let's say I'm transferring the measurement from the original pattern to the other paper. This is what I use to secure my paper. I use my stapler to secure my paper. And also I do have my sharpener. I use the sharpener to sharpen my pencil. It is very important. And also I do have my French curve here. As a beginner, if you don't have a French curve, it doesn't really matter. When I started 6 years plus ago, I didn't have a French curve. I used my hand to like curve whatever measurement I needed to put in. However, this is also handy. If you've seen some of my videos, I do not use, most of the time I do not use my French curves. However, I still have accurate measurements. But this is also very handy if you can afford them. So they're very, very nice to have. But as a beginner, don't put pressure on yourself to rush and buy them. So this one also, I use them from time to time. Yeah, so guys, that brings us to the end of today's tutorial. I think I've shown you guys all the basic tools that are required for a beginner and all the basic tools that I have that I still use, aside showing you guys my sewing machine. You can start with a basic sewing machine, and after a while you can upgrade. I hope you enjoy watching this video as I enjoy making it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.